everybody, welcome back to the Ducktales Podcast. I hope you guys are doing amazing. I'm sorry about the last part that kind of just dropped there on like a random part, but welcome back to the last bit of the Ducktales pod. This one won't be as long as the last one, but let's get into it. So, at the end of the last video, I talked about a lot of Season 1, and I was just about to talk about Della Duck and how she fits into the story. After 10 years of her being on the moon, she encounters a group of aliens that become her friends for a little bit. But one alien that she names Penny, or something, it's her other name. I'm sorry, I just can't think of the other name off the top of my head. It really is bugging me that I can't remember these characters' names, although I do like them. I just cannot think of the names for the life of me. It really bugs me. But anyway, so Penny, as Della calls her, basically does not take a liking to her at all. She thinks that she's up to something. She thinks that she's evil. And the thing with these group of aliens, they actually believe that the moon is a planet, which, if we're going to be frank here, it's not a real planet. And the entire group of characters knows that. But you know what? More power to them. They think the moon is a planet. I mean, honestly, I think it's a giant roll of cheese, but, you know, that's my nostalgic goggles of Wallace and Gromit. But, hey, what can I say? Anyway, so back to what I was saying. So, basically, the aliens help her build the Spear of Selene. Once they rebuilt the Spear of Selene, Della was basically asleep. But the aliens, especially their leader, actually had an evil intention. Mostly the leader had the evil intention. Penny did not. She realized that when she was helping her out that she actually felt closer to Della than what she thought, and she actually saw her more as a friend than just a hindrance, and more of a kind of best friend. She actually reminds him more of a certain brother, the brother being the pseudo father to Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Donald Duck. Yep, that Donald Duck. But anyway, as I was saying, so basically, the ship goes off into space and lands back onto Earth, but because Penny started up the machine to start back up the plane without her noticing it because she wanted to get rid of her, and basically sent her off on her way. But it turns out that the evil big bad alien thought that she did that, rebuilt the Spear of Selene so they can go and conquer Earth. That was his intention, and of course he gets all of the other aliens beside her, except for Penny, in which she is basically trying to contact Della and tell her that they're coming, which, doesn't really work out until the second to last episodes. But yeah, what can I say? But anyway, continuing on, the somewhat other plot to this while these events is going on is that Donald is basically having to he basically went through a bunch of stuff throughout this one episode. They told him, you know what, you can take a vacation, go take a cruise, we'll see you later. And he's like, oh, I'm completely down for that, and takes the cruise. But as the Spear of Selene is making his way down to Earth, Donald sees it and tries to climb in it, trying to find Della, but unfortunately doesn't end up finding her, and ends up getting trapped back into space, trapped inside the Spear of Selene, and getting shoot back up into space. But at this point, Della Duck has made it to the mansion and reunites with the boys, which actually kind of makes a pretty funny moment, because as they're introducing themselves, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Della actually had no intentions. Dewey would have been named Turbo, one of them, Louie would have been named Rebel, and the other one would have been named, I can't think of the last one. Why can't I think of the last one? I can't think of it. Why can't I think of it? Sorry, I know that this podcast is basically me of can't remembering the characters' names. At least they're supposed to be fake names. But anyway, I say fake names, original names, I should say. But we're just going to be calling them Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and that's what the mother ends up calling them. But anyway, and this funny thing that comes up later is that later in the show, Dewey gets upset that Dawn did not name him Turbo, left the name Turbo. Like, he's completely down with that name instead of Dewey, but I don't know. I kind of prefer Dewey just a little bit better than that, than Turbo, because Turbo sounds like a snail's name. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I made that joke. Anyway, so going back into the main story, basically throughout this entire season, Della just tries to reconnect with everyone that's around her, but she doesn't really take a liking to Launchpad because the first moment that she kind of sees a picture of Launchpad, she automatically thinks that she's been replaced because she was mainly the main pilot throughout the main adventures, and Launchpad was just basically just there. And they eventually warm up to become friends, but it took a little bit. But now they're pretty much best friends, and they basically are like one and the same. And Gwen was in kind of the same thing. They're kind of the same people, but not really. If that's me, they're the perfect strangers. How about that, huh? Again, why did I make that joke? Just keep on going with the story. But anyway, so the end of the series, the end of the season, basically ends off with, and this is a lot, one episode before Della returns, Grimworld and Scrooge got into a fight, basically saying if the next summer, whoever's the witch is stuck in the, see who can become the witch is stuck in the world, basically, by the end of the next summer. And by that point in the show, basically, how do I even start up with this? Because these last 4 episodes are just kind of insane. Kind of insane in the membrane, but I'll try my best to summarize it. So, long story short, Dewey actually doesn't find, it's actually Louis that steals a time-traveling bathtub, and he wants to steal all these emeralds and different types of jewels before they were actually found, and then sell them on the black market to make bank. So that's kind of his whole thing, and it's without, like, all the quote-unquote dangerous part of adventuring. But, of course, he keeps doing that, and it's screwing so much with the timeline that it ends up basically zapping everyone slowly out of existence. Eventually, Louis stops it, but he's actually, believe it or not, grounded. Which I find funny, the fact that he's actually grounded, where there's like no other character in the show that ever got grounded in that way before. But and there was an entire episode basically around that, and if you guys watched my 2017 versus original Ducktales video, you guys know that in this same episode is also the same, well, actually it's the next episode, but basically the entire family went off on an adventure while Louis is left home. Dewey is obviously the good child. Dewey's amazing. He is, again, the best character. I was already gushing about him in part 1. I don't need to gush about him now. But anyway, so Louis is left basically in his bedroom alone with this robot that may or may not have ended up may or may not turn evil. Which at that point I'm like, Della, don't trust an evil robot. A robot that is prone to becoming evil. Like, don't do that. All of his inventions become evil. All the Doctor's inventions. I want to double him as a doctor. He's a scientist. I just can't think of his name off the top of my head. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. I forgot what I was saying. Crap! Okay. There we go. So back to what I was saying. So, like I said before in the other video that I made on DuckTales, Louis is now grounded and stuck in his room while everyone else goes on an amazing adventure without him. It's actually not really a big old adventure. It's actually more of a relaxing vacation adventure-esque. But, yeah, around this time, Grimworld has made a way to get, basically become the richest duck in the world by getting all the other villains together and up and stealing the gold from Scrooge. Unfortunately, that plan ends up backfiring hard to the point that Louis ends up becoming the full, like, richest duck in the world. And that's an entire episode all in itself. Well, he disabled, like, satellite stuff to help fund his own little things and stuff like that. It's a giant mess. Scrooge forgives him. Della forgives him. All that other stuff. But then at the end of that episode, the transmission from space finally comes in, and the invasion begins. The moon invasion. A bunch of Spiro Salines fall down from space, and yeah, this is basically the end of the season. It's a giant battle for Earth, and it's intense. It goes all over the place, and you would think that a lot more people have been, like, hurt and stuff like that, but even throughout the mainly places that the crew basically takes you to, like the Egypt and the goddess place, like, they're all attacking each other. Like, the aliens are basically all wreaking havoc over there, and it's insane. It's literally like, oh, like, this is, like, the world. Like, this is attacking everyone. And gets to the point where Della up and tries to run away and hide the kids. Lying to them, basically telling them, yo, we're going to actually recruit a bunch of other people to fight up against us. Which at that point, I felt like wasn't really needed. I felt like you could have at least tried to fight. Like, I kind of see what her angle was. For 10 whole years, she's been away from her kids, and there's no way that she's going to lose them again. But unfortunately, the ship that they're on ends up crashing, not by a launch pad, but by a blow to one of the engines by one of the aliens, falling straight down onto an abandoned island, which has a Wilson moment. Donald's found there from the end of his own episode, because there was an episode where he was in space, and basically it was just kind of filler, but it kind of explains what happened to Donald just a little bit. But we kind of knew that he kind of fell from space. But yeah, he has a melon in the shape of Mickey Mouse, which is funny to think about, because if we go back to the original, like, what Disney XD was trying to say is the fact that Mickey was not in this series at all. They found a loophole by adding him into this one part of the episode, and I think it works fine. Again, I'm not dissing on Mickey Mouse. I actually love Mickey Mouse with a passion. He's actually what got me into Disney, believe it or not. It's like how Mario got me into Nintendo games. Like, he is a mascot, but like I said in the last video, they kind of had, like, this undisputed battle between each other, and it's kind of weird, because I never knew about it until, like, I started really getting into DuckTales. And so, with that being said, so basically Donald and the rest of the crew basically made their way back to Duckburg. But at this point, Scrooge was trying to stop a revolution to try to outsmart the aliens. But unfortunately, they were one step ahead of them, and they've held captive basically everyone that he's gained captive. Like, basically made him on his own team. I'm sorry I'm stuttering a lot. I'm just trying to get through this. But yeah, he was basically stuck on his own with the headless horse from the first episode, which throughout the series he does come back every now and then, the headless horseman, or the headless horse, I should say. And Launchpad is there, and I'm having memory loss, guys. I can't remember her name. Beakley, there we go. Beakley, I got her name. And Beakley is the last one that's alive. Oh, I say alive. She's the last one that's free. She didn't get captured or anything like that. But there was also one other duck that's just so happened to be alive, and it's Grimlold. Yep, you heard me right. After losing everything, literally everything, he might as well help out Scrooge with this last scheme, and it ends up working. Scrooge actually ends up dressing up as Santa Claus. Distracting the captain long enough for sharks with hoodies on to go and bite through the ship because at this point the Earth is freezing. You know, due to science, if we get closer to the moon, we'll freeze to death. And so with that, everything is basically snowfall now. Like everything is just a bunch of snow, and it's really up to them to save the day. But as I said before, the sharks go and buy up a bit of the ship, and the rest of the crew show up on a giant like lizard type thing. I forgot what it's called, but with the guy that's super lucky, which I feel like is Donald's cousin, if I remember correctly. I forgot how that whole family tree works, but he's the luckiest like guy there is. And so, with that being said, basically all of them now come together. They take one spare spear, the one last ship, I should say, the one last spear Selene, and they go up and have this epic dogfight up in space that literally just gets you on the edge of your seat, because we've been to everywhere on the Earth, but in the moon, like, we're on the edge of our seat. We want to see how this is going to end off. We want to see who's going to win, if we're going to win. And then lastly, when all seemed lost, Penny shows up and pulls a Star Wars The Last Jedi on us and yeets our ship straight into the ship engine and blows up the ship, leaving that ship to orbit Earth from now on instead of the moon. So it's the new moon. And everyone on Earth and even the new alien pals are pretty good with each other. But then leaves us with a cliffhanger. A bunch of people you didn't expect to be villains turned out to be villains with its evil plot, and basically kind of the most creepiest ending you can get to a season, but still a giant cliffhanger that I want to see. And that, my friends, is the end of DuckTales, at least for now, until season 3 gets onto Disney+. But what did I think of this season? I thought it was genius to especially bring back the mother as a, like, more of a character than just like, oh, she's just somewhere in space. Like, she literally came back from space and was back reunited with the kids and the fam and stuff like that, and living with Scrooge in the mansion with Webby and all of them. And there was also a bunch of little moments here that just literally just made my heart happy. There was an episode where they literally brought back Lena from the dead. Yes, that is amazing. Or she didn't technically die. She was in a shadow realm, but she ended up getting blasted into a different dimension. And I thought she died, but she comes back, and it's just beautiful. It's just amazing. Launchpad gets to meet up with his lifelong hero, Darkwing Duck, but he realizes that he's just mainly just an actor, and he's not the real Darkwing Duck, but he acts like that a lot of the time, which I think is just hilarious just to think about. An actor basically acting for so long that he's basically become the actor that he is. I know that's a long-running thing with the Joker in a lot of cases, but this is a bit more of a bright side. Wait, now I think about it, Darkwing Duck is basically the Batman, and he basically became the Batman of the Duck universe. Do you think there's a Duck Joker somewhere around there? Okay, that's a completely other video. I'm not going to waste you guys' time with that. But yeah, this last season was great. I think it was the best season out of all of them so far. Although it does have a lot of episodes I don't really care that much about, but I still think it's still a great watch, even for those that have never seen DuckTales before. I feel like newcomers can still come into it. And overall, the entire series, I think you should at least watch for yourself. Similar to Gravity Falls, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and a bunch of other Disney shows that they have, this is definitely one that takes the cake. I feel like they pulled off the right type of point of nostalgia, new faces, new characters, deeper story, and it's just blends it all together to make a fantastic show for both kids, adults, teens like myself. And I feel like that if you want to get into this series, you should definitely go watch it. It's on Disney Plus finally. I know it took long enough to get onto a streaming service that I actually have, that I didn't have to pay money for, Amazon Prime. But yeah, that's it for DuckTales. Woohoo! So coming up next in the podcast scene, I am actually going to be doing a series on Avatar. And we're going to actually be split up into books. So I'm actually going to be tackling the Book of Water, the Book of Earth, and then the Book of Fire. And this one's going to take me a little bit to kind of review, if you will. I am going to be focusing a lot more on Trouges Voices content. So whenever I get around to reviewing Avatar, that's when I will focus on watching the other couple books. But until then, I'm the Gaming Trouges. Have yourselves a great night and keep gaming.